Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. After spending 8 lives adventuring far, far away, Puss in Boots will need to embark on a journey through the dark forest to find the wishing star, an artifact that can bring all his lives back. Today we will recap the story of the movie, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, from 2022. One night, a large shooting star fell from the sky, striking the trees, which began to burn. When the fire is extinguished, the place gets the name, Dark Forest, a magical and extremely dangerous place that stores the wish star in its center, hoping that one day someone will find it to fulfill a last wish. In Del Mar, Spain, Puss in Boots breaks into the governor's house and starts throwing a huge party in celebration of his last great heroic act. To please the population, the pussycat gives away one of the treasure chests to the poorest and begins to play a few songs about his deeds. But in the middle of the party, the governor arrives and, seeing the destruction the animal is causing, decides to end the celebration and offers a reward for those who eliminate the Puss in Boots. At this moment, the security guards enter the house and the hero of Del Mar begins to face them all alone, managing to defeat each of them and even slice the governor's wig, showing himself to be a true master of fencing. When the goons get up to fight again, the courageous cat lights some fireworks that fly everywhere, creating a light show just above the castle. But all this noise awakens the giant of Del Mar, a colossal creature that has been asleep and will now destroy everything in its path. Furious, the monster tears the roof off the place and starts capturing people, putting them in a kind of bag, forcing the Puss in Boots to act. To save the population, he asks one of the musicians to hurl him in the giant's direction and flies with everything until he stabs the creature's thumb with his sword. Furious, the Colossus from Del Mar throws the cat, causing it to go through several walls, but the feline is not shaken and once again advances towards the giant, who pulls out the church bell and tries to use it to hit the cat. To get to the giant, the Puss in Boots clings to the bell and leaps toward the bag, cutting the rope and freeing the people who have been captured. The feline then climbs the troll's body and thrusts the sword into his shoulder, forcing the giant to try to hit him with the bell, but he misses and the object hits him full in the face, causing the dreaded Colossus of Del Mar to go back to sleep. With his victory, the Puss in Boots is presented with a gift and begins to give a speech to everyone in town, but while he is speaking, the church bell falls right into him, taking one of his 9 lives. Sometime later, the Puss wakes up in a veterinarian's clinic. The man alerts him, saying that the animal has been fatally injured, and asks how many lives the cat has already lost. Intrigued by the question, he begins to remember his adventures and realizes that he has already lost his life 8 times, that is, he has only one chance left. When he learns of this, the vet tells him that he should retire and hands him a flyer with the address of Mama Luna, a cat-loving lady who has turned her house into a shelter. The doctor's hope is that he will spend his last life quietly and safely, but the cat is stubborn and leaves the clinic straight for a bar, where he starts stuffing his face with milk before venturing out again. When it is almost dawn, the pussycat asks for a drink and the bartender goes to the back to get the mimosa, but as the man leaves, a giant, red-eyed wolf appears beside the cat, whistling a rather sinister tune. When he finishes the song, the sinister creature says he is a great admirer and wants an autograph, pulling a wanted poster from his pocket and asking him to sign below. Imagining he is a bounty hunter, the Puss in Boots says he laughs in the face of death and draws his sword, challenging him to a duel, but is easily disarmed. Surprised, the cat retrieves his sword and once again advances toward the wolf, who manages to dodge all his blows without any difficulty. Finally, the hunter grabs the feline by the neck and throws him away while saying that he doesn't deserve the fame he has. The wolf begins his attacks and strikes several blows with his curved swords, managing to cut the forehead of the Puss in Boots. Realizing that the cat is scared to death, the wolf kicks the sword at the cat and orders him to pick it up so they can continue the fight, but the feline refuses and runs to the bathroom, escaping through the sewer until he reaches Mama Luna's house. When he finally reaches the place, he buries his old clothes in the backyard and decides to live like a normal cat in the new home, where he is christened Cucumber and forced to act like the others of his kind. As the days go by, he finally manages to adjust to his new lifestyle, never imagining that Goldilocks and the 3 bears are trying to track him down. Not suspecting anything, the former hero keeps trying to live normally, until he meets a very agitated dog who is disguised as a cat in order to have a place to stay. When he realizes that the Cucumber can also speak the language of humans, the little dog introduces himself as Perito, and starts insisting that they talk, but the cat doesn't seem interested and just decides to ignore him. In the late afternoon, the retired hero is watching the scenery when he sees the silhouette of the wolf through the window and realizes that he has finally been found, But when they break into the house, he realizes that the one who has arrived is Goldilocks and not the hunter. As soon as they arrive at the place, the bears capture Mama Luna and start interrogating her, asking about the whereabouts of the booted cat, but the woman thinks they are the health surveillance and says there is no cat in the house. Realizing that she will not cooperate, the younger son begins sniffing around the grounds until he finds the tomb of the Puss in Boots. Thinking he is gone, Goldilocks and his family of bears start talking about what to do, and end up letting it slip that they wanted to hire him to steal the map that leads to the wishing star from Big Jack the Horner, an extremely cruel villain. After overhearing all the talk from behind a tree, Puss in Boots decides to relive his glory days and go after the map on his own to get his 9 lives back. To do so, he decides to go back to work and asks Perito to dig up his old clothes, abandoning his life as a cucumber, and going to the castle of Jack Horner. However, since he lost his saber during the fight with the wolf, the dog takes a stick and puts it in the cat's belt, so that he can use the object as a substitute sword. Duly armed, the thief enters through the pipe and starts sneaking around until he reaches the trophy room of Big Jack, an innocent child who has become an extremely cruel villain after being replaced by Pinocchio, and now wants to collect everything magical. While hiding, the cat keeps watching until the big guy gets distracted, giving him the chance to reach into the trunk and grab the map, but when he finally manages to destroy the lock, Kitty Softpaws appears and steals the parchment from his hand, giving him a sharp peck on the nose. During their dispute over the map, one of the bears falls from the ceiling and the rest of the family follows, drawing the attention of Big Jack, who notices them all. Goldilocks grabs one of the bottles from the bookcase and starts threatening the feline duo to hand it over, but the bookcase with spells ends up collapsing on top of it, giving the cats the opportunity to escape on the flying carpet. To recover his map, Big Jack throws a trident at the pair and manages to knock them down, but they keep running away as they fight over who is the better thief, ending the fight with Kitty in possession of the parchment. As the cat runs away with the map, Goldilocks and the Big Jack's men arrive in the room and start chasing the invaders, pushing the bearded cat and knocking him into the wagon where Perito is. Now with a means of transportation, the duo begins to flee as they continue to fight over the map, but as Big Jack's men continue in pursuit, the cat decides to stop fighting with Kitty and kicks some bags of gold into the middle of the street, causing the population to jump in front of the horses to get the coins. As people crowd the road, the cat sees the hunter whistling in the crowd and asks the dog to speed further away from the town, not imagining that both the bears and the Big Jack are trying to track them and will soon catch up with the group. When they finally manage to lose the pursuers, Kitty decides to open the map and realizes that it is completely blank, until the letters magically appear telling them that they must go to the dark forest to find the wishing star. After a long day of traveling, the trio finally arrive at the entrance to the forest, and Kitty says she expected something scarier. At this point, the cat decides to take another look at the map, but for some reason, the entire biome begins to change as soon as he touches the parchment, turning the place into a lava swamp, full of dangerous paths. Curious to see what is in store for her, Kitty pushes the cat and touches the map, causing the biome to change again, turning everything into a swamp of poison and rot. It seems that the dark forest knows people's hearts and prepares a different path for each one. Curious, Perito decides to try his luck and touch the map to see what the forest has in store for him, but for some reason, the place looks the same as before and turns into a flowery biome, asking them to start from the flower road, pass by the relaxing river, and finally deal with the field of easy solutions. As the stumpy dog has the easiest route, the duo decides to leave the map with him and move on before the bears catch up with them, but when they reach the road, they come across a wall of flowers and begin to fight. Even though they try to cut the stems, the two are unable to stop the plants from growing even larger and continuing to attack, but unlike them, Perito decides to just smell the flowers and finds that doing so is all it takes to get them out of the way. After the felines are captured, Perito goes to them and manages to get the plants to release them, but at that moment, both the bears and Big Jack manage to catch up with them and begin to chop the flowers, causing them to fight back and start devouring their henchmen. In order to end it all once and for all, Big Jack takes a phoenix from his magic pouch and uses it as a flamethrower, setting the flowers on fire and opening the way to the next challenge. A few miles ahead, Perito and his new friends are passing by the relaxing river when Puss in Boots feels his beard prickling and begs Kitty to remove the hair. As soon as she finishes shaving, the cat decides to lend one of her knives to her former partner and says that now he can get rid of the stick, but when he tries to throw it away, Perito's canine instinct kicks in and he jumps into the water, swimming towards the shore after the object. To prevent him from getting lost, the cat decides to stop the boat and begins to follow the dog's trail, but while the two argue about who is going to make the request, Big Jack appears among the trees saying that they must hand over the map if they want Perito to stay alive. At that moment, Goldilocks finally arrives on the scene and Papa Bear starts throwing some men at Big Jack's cart, causing him to knock down Perito, who takes the opportunity to run towards his friends. As soon as they see the map in the cat's hands, everyone moves towards them and Kitty runs into the crowd to save the dog. In the midst of the confusion, one of Big Jack's men catches the cat, but the villain ends up hitting the man with a unicorn horn that turns into a confetti bomb. But when this happens, the wolf's whistle begins to echo and the Puss in Boots instantly begins to feel fear, shivering once again. Terrified, the pussycat starts running toward the wishing star while Perito goes after them, but because of all the commotion, Kitty ends up getting distracted and Goldilocks grabs the map. Determined to recover the object, Kitty prepares to fight, but the moment the blonde touches the parchment, the place begins to change and the earth splits in half, preventing the cat from reaching the family of bears. In a panic, the cat runs into the forest, which also begins to change, but because of his fear, he ends up hyperventilating and has to lie down next to a tree, where Perito is able to calm him down and get him to talk about what is happening. Upon discovering that the cat has arrived in his last life, the dog says that even among heroes it is normal to be afraid and asks him to tell Kitty everything, but the cat refuses and reveals that he abandoned her at the altar, saying that she will never trust him again. After hearing everything he had to say from his hiding place, the cat comes out of the middle of the bush and says that she has lost the map, and that to get it back, they must find the bears before they reach the star. A few kilometers ahead, Goldilocks realizes that the drawing on the map has disappeared and that the hut where he met the bear family has mysteriously appeared in front of them, and although it is clearly a trap to waste their time, they do not notice it and end up completely forgetting the goal. Not far away, the two cats decide to climb a tree to try to locate themselves and end up spotting the hut where the bears are, changing their route to go there and retrieve the map. Taking advantage that Papa Bear is hibernating, Puss in Boots comes down to the dining table and steals the parchment that is stuck to the honey, but he ends up making a noise and alerting Goldilocks. Seeing that the map is gone, she immediately wakes up the rest of the family and begins to search for the object, finding it under the coffee table in the hands of the Puss in Boots. Trapped, the feline decides to throw the map in the direction of Kitty, who is on one of the beams on the ceiling, but since she also has nowhere to run, she decides to open the parchment and touch the inner part of the object, making her way all the way to the star to transform once again. Seeing her hut being destroyed, Goldilocks decides to try to stop the mutation and throws his staff at Kitty, knocking the maps out of her hands and slamming them into the wall. With this, the transformation is halted and they begin a race to reach the map, but the felines realize that the girl will arrive before them and decide to cheat, using their tap dancing skills to levitate, finally reaching the parchment. When they are landing, Kitty ends up touching the inside of the map and causing the entire biome to turn into the Mountains of Misery. Because of this, they manage to get away from the group of bears, but Perito is left behind and they must go back to retrieve their friend. Eager to save him, the Puss in Boots takes the map from Kitty's hands to see where they are, but this causes the biome to change and he ends up trapped in the Cave of Lost Souls, a kind of crystal prison. With the map in hand, he shows the cat where Perito is and asks her to go save him while he tries to find a way out of there. On the other side of the crystal maze, Kitty finds Perito talking to the bears in the center of a trap, but since the dog won't stop talking, the family gets distracted by him and the cat gets the perfect opportunity to save the little dog. While searching for the passage back, Puss in Boots ends up at a place where he meets his other 8 previous lives. But before he can even talk to his incarnations, the hunter appears before him and reveals that he has been present in each of his past lives, but was never noticed, because the big Puss in Boots was more concerned with the fame of his adventures. At this moment he realizes that the wolf is not a bounty hunter, but the very personification of death that has come to get him. Confused, the feline says that he still has 1 incarnation left, and the wolf replies that he doesn't like people who have 9 lives, especially those who don't value any of them. In fear, the cat clings to the map and runs in the direction of the star to make his request. He quickly finds his way out of the labyrinth, and when he finally manages to escape, he runs into Kitty and Perito, who try to get his attention, but driven by panic, he refuses to stop and keeps running towards the star, making the cat think that he is running away with the map. After some time running, the Puss in Boots arrives at the place where the star is and opens the map, which now shows the incantation phrase that must be used before the wish, but just as he is about to make his wish, Kitty appears and accuses him of being a traitor. Desperate, the cat says he needs the request badly, and the kitty replies that her wish was to have someone she could trust, and was even willing to give up the shooting star for the Puss in Boots. The feline hero finally decides to tell the truth and explains that he is on his last life, besides telling her that death is after him and he needs the request to be able to continue on Earth, but she thinks he is lying and throws the map on the ground, saying she doesn't want to see him ever again. At that moment, Jack Horner and the bears finally arrive on the scene and begin a real battle royale for the scroll. In the center of the star, one of the bears falls on the cat, who drops the map next to the female. When he sees the parchment, Jack Horner aims his staff in the direction of Mama Bear, and the youngest son manages to save her by knocking down the villain, but he takes too long to act and is hit by a spell, causing him to go to the edge of the map. With their son about to be sucked into the magic, Mama and Papa Bear run to one of the ends and do everything they can to pull him back, dropping the map into the hands of Goldilocks, who instead of making his request, decides to go to the edge to save his brother, pulling him back with his staff. With the map on the floor, Big Jack finally grabs the object and prepares to finally have his wish granted, but Kitty hits him with a volley, knocking the villain into the suitcase with an infinite bottom. In this way, the parchment is finally safe and Perito decides to give it to the Puss in Boots, saying that he has always had only one life and that it can be enough if he is surrounded by the people he loves, but even before the cat can answer, the wolf whistle begins to echo and the hunter appears in front of everyone, creating an arena of fire around them so that no one can interfere. Tired of running away, the cat drops the map and challenges the wolf to duel, picking up his sword from the ground and going all out. Thanks to his determination, the feline finally manages to defend himself and even lands a peck on the wolf's forehead, but the predator does not accept defeat and fuses his two curved swords together, setting up a kind of twin blades. In this way, the hunter regains the upper hand and manages to prick the cat's hat, as well as once again disarming him, but just as the specter is about to end the fight, the feline takes the knife that Kitty gave him and manages to parry the blow, splitting the wolf's blade in half. When the hunter's sickles fall to the ground, the Puss in Boots kicks them back and orders him to pick them up to continue the fight, saying that even if he doesn't have much chance of winning, he will do everything to stay alive. The specter then slowly approaches and begins to stare at the cat, but finally comes to the conclusion that he is now a new man and decides to leave, saying that the kitty should enjoy this life until they meet again. After the wolf leaves, Kitty approaches him and apologizes for not believing him, but the cat doesn't listen and decides to give her the map, saying that the request is hers and that she deserves someone she can trust. Realizing that he has really changed, Kitty refuses his request and says that she already got what she wanted, but before they can leave, Big Jack comes out of the suitcase in a colossal size, because he found a candy that can turn anyone into a giant. With his size and strength multiplied, the villain retrieves the map and hurls the cats toward the edge, but luckily they are saved by Papa Bear. With no one to stop him, Big Jack begins to read the parchment and make his request, but just as he is about to finish, Perito manages to distract him with his cute face, buying time for the couple of cats to fly full tilt into the giant, piercing his finger and tearing the map right off. Still, Big Jack takes the remains of the parchment and reassembles it to make his request, but that phoenix manages to grab one of the pieces and incinerates the map, turning the object to dust. As a result, the star begins to shatter and the villain is buried by the crystals, shattering and being sent to various parts of the world in millions of pieces. Finally, the Puss in Boots decides to go after new adventures with only one life, stealing the governor's ship and setting sail with Kitty and Perito, on their way to far, far away, where they intend to find their old friends. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.